Hey there. This is a video showing you how you could potentially import your character that you've created in Affinity Designer into Toon Boom Harmony with all its layers intact. If you've ever tried to do this before by exporting a PDF file from Affinity Designer and then importing it into Toon Boom Harmony, you might have already discovered that all it does is flatten all of your layers into one drawing layer, and of course that's not very ideal for animating. And so my current workflow for getting around that issue is to essentially export each layer from Affinity Designer as separate PDFs and then importing them into Toon Boom all at once and then dropping them onto the stage all at once, which is convenient in that respect. But the setup in Affinity Designer takes a little bit longer. And that's also because Affinity Designer does not have a scripting option or the option to basically automate this in any way. So as you can see, it's not going to be a very fast process. It's going to be a little bit repetitive, but it's the only option I have right now that I know of. All right, let's go over the layers panel here just to discuss the arts that I have. So all I have is simple vector shapes inside layers that are named with, it's very important to have a number in the layer because that's actually going to keep the file structure for when we export these as PDF files and make sure that the layering will be retained when we import it into Toon Boom Harmony. But that's all it is just simple vector shapes inside layers that are named. Okay, so I go over to my export persona here, and now I'm going to start creating slices for each of those individual layers. So I go over to the Layers tab here, select each body part, create a slice, and this is sort of the repetitive part where we have to drag each slice to the size of the canvas so that it basically retains the exact position that we have in Affinity Designer when we import it into Toon Boom Harmony. We want to make sure that the head stays where it is, of course. So we have to do this in order to accomplish that. All right, creating a slice for the torso here. And if we were able to use a script of some kind, it would be amazing if we could just automate this process directly from Affinity Designer. But unfortunately, version 1 of Affinity Designer, which I'm using right now, is not compatible with that, doesn't have any feature like that. But at least I have snapping turned on, so that at least allows me to quickly snap the slices to be resized to the canvas as I'm doing so right now. This method is also similar to how people would import vector files into the software Moho, if you're familiar with that, at least before version 14. And in that version, they actually allowed you to use SVG files that and basically import them with the layers retained. But of course, Toon Boom unfortunately doesn't seem to have that option. Okay, so I just create a slice for the backdrop layer. And I just want to comment that it's actually very important to include a backdrop into your Affinity Designer project because we're actually going to use it to solve a problem with scaling that you're going to see with that happens after you import your art into Toon Boom. Okay, but for now, I have all these slices made, so I'm just going to go over to the Slices panel here, or tab, select all the slices that I created, and now I'm going to define the export options for the PDF file for the PDF files that will be exported. So the file format, of course, is PDF that I want to select. And I want to make sure that the compatibility is set to PDF 1.5 because that's the version that's compatible with Toon Boom Harmony. And I want to scroll down to make sure that include layers is unchecked, like I have here. Because of course, if I actually found that if you have this option checked, it actually causes some issues because the Affinity Designer layers aren't recognized by Toon Boom Harmony from what I can see. So we're just going to leave that unchecked since we're already going to be exporting our own layers anyways and reassemble and basically having them auto reassemble when they get into Toon Boom. Okay, so now I'm going to export my slices because that's all the settings that I need. I'm just going to throw it onto my desktop. Okay, and now I'm just gonna go over to Toon Boom and import my art in the normal way that I would import PDF files. So that's go over to my library tab here and make sure to check right to modify in order to actually modify the Toom Boom Harmony library. And then in this area, I'm going to click Import Files, right click, and then choose Import Files. And I'm going to select all of those PDF files that were created and open them up. And it's going to import each one. And as you can see, the order has been maintained. Of course, that's because we included that number in each of their names. And I'm going to select them all and drag them into the canvas area. All right, so as you can see here, we have them all in the same order, and we have that backdrop included, but you probably also noticed that the canvas that I had in Affinity Designer, or at least the vector art, seems to be smaller than what it should be. So it seems that when you import a PDF that was created in Affinity Designer into Toon Boom, it seems that the scaling isn't retained. And I say that too because when I actually click on the vector, or sorry, the stroke of the characters, which I'm going to do so by going to the head layer, selecting the actual line, I'm just going to go to Tool Properties. This stroke has been set to 26, but in my actual Affinity Designer project, my stroke it's actually 30. So I don't know if maybe Affinity Designer uses different units than Toon Boom, but either way, it's not the exact same size and it's not the same number, or it was just scaled down when it was imported into Toon Boom. So the workaround for this, if you might already suspect, is that we're just going to select everything on all layers and make sure that the select tool is selected. Let me just drag out a selection here. And we're going to resize it so that it is exactly the same size, because right now this canvas is a 4K canvas. It's 3,840 by 2,160, so 4K. And that's the way that my Affinity Designer document was at as well. So it should exactly fit. And to make it a little bit easier as well, I'm going to go to the View tab here. I'm going to go to Grid, Show Grid. And I'm going to make sure that the grid type is set to 16 by 12, which it works for 16 by 9 aspect ratio canvases, which I have. So Grid, Show Grid, there we go. And I'm going to make sure that snapping is turned on from my Tools property panel. So make sure that it's set to snap to the grid, which I have. And holding Shift and Alt on my keyboard, I'm going to start dragging this out to actually fit the canvas. It seems to not be snapping for some reason. I might be forgetting one thing. Yeah. Oh, right. My snapping was turned off by accident. My bad. There we go. Now it snaps to the increments of the grid that you can see. But that's how you can get it back to its proper size. I'm just going to turn off the canvas, turn off the grid so we can see it again. And when we go back to check on the stroke width of the head, I'm just going to do that Command. There we go. We can see that the stroke has now been set to 34.7, so it's not exactly the same size. The only fix I have for this is just to manually set it back to 30, if that truly is the proper size. And you would do that for each body part, basically. Like I say, this entire process isn't the most ideal as comparison to Illustrator files, which for the most part don't have this issue. They seem to import at the proper scale with the proper stroke lengths from what I could see. And it's just with Affinity Designer files, we seem to have to go through these extra loops to do the exact same thing. But I hope this video has helped you. If you find that there's a better way of doing this, please let me know in the comments section below. Hope this helps and have a great day.